everybody, it's Lisa here from vocalcoaching.org. Today I'm going to talk to you about vocal strain and how to eliminate vocal strain. This is a topic which I'm confronted with on a daily basis. It's something which many singers have to deal with, many singers are struggling with, whether they are beginners or whether they are singers who've been singing for a long time, singers who are out there gigging all the time and struggling with, environmental issues, smoky environments, long hours, singing songs which are maybe slightly struggling on the top end of their lower range, or they're having to belt a lot, musical singers who find they really want to have that belt in the voice and they're pushing their lower ranges right up high and struggling to get the belt and the strength in the voice and keep the strength in the voice, and then cross over into the upper register and still keep that strength in the voice, and then just finding any way to manage it, and then incorrect techniques come into play. Even if they may have learned correct techniques, just finding any way to make it happen in the moment when you're in a live situation, and just all those fantastic techniques that you've learnt tend to go out the window because you're in a stressful situation. And that's when your technique really needs to be so fully grounded that even in a stressful situation, you can call on that technique and make it work for you. Now, getting back to topic, what is vocal strain? And then how can we use those techniques? What kind of techniques can we use to help us avoid vocal strain and overcome it and still have all that strength and power that we need in the voice at the right time? Vocal strain is when we are using the muscles below and above the larynx, and we are gripping basically and preventing the larynx from working in the way we want. Most vocal strain comes from when the larynx is rising up. So we're using a lot of the swallowing muscles which come into play when we swallow, and they actually cause the larynx to rise up. And a lot of singers start to use these muscles as well in singing, which actually just grip around the vocal cords and really prevent the vocal cords then from working naturally. And then you're stopping any natural resonance coming in, and then this muscle tension just starts to hurt, and that causes vocal strain. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit what I mean by that. So if you're singing, let's say, let's go down. So your larynx sits right around the Adam's apple. Now, in men, the Adam's apple is very prominent. You can see it, it tends to protrude right out in the middle of the throat here. Now, ladies also have a little mini Adam's apple. We don't really see it, but it is right there. If you put your fingers on your throat, just across here, and then you swallow, you'll feel there's a little lump there, and it goes up and it goes down when you swallow. So that, when you feel that going up and down, that's exactly where your larynx is. And because it's going up and down, so that indicates also that these are your swallowing muscles. Your larynx also has a function which will come up, and the larynx, it uses it to tend to block off that windpipe to prevent any food from also coming down the wrong way when we're swallowing. And these swallowing muscles, we don't want them to come into play when we are singing. We want the larynx to stay nice and balanced, nice and even, what's called as speech level singing. So when we're speaking, the larynx stays, or should stay, at a balanced, even level, not moving around too much. And that's what we want to also have when we're singing. Now, the way to achieve that, yawning is a fantastic way to try and find your way into these upper notes without pulling the larynx up. When you yawn, you tend to it keeps the mouth nice and open, the tongue stays down. So what happens with pulling the larynx up is also the tongue tends to pull up, and that pulls the larynx up as well. So this yawning feeling keeps that tongue nice and even and flat in the bottom of the mouth, and it encourages the lift in the palate. And that lift in the palate is also going to make it a lot easier to sing into these higher tones. So a good way to feel these higher tones is to start on the higher ones and yawn in, ah, and just slide your way down. Ah, ah. But you don't need any notes on a piano. Just starting high, opening up the mouth, feeling that feeling of a big stretch and a big yawn before you let the note go. Ah, and then using a good support from below, you let it out and up and over. And if you try practicing that, it helps you to eliminate this ah coming from the throat, which you would not want. Ah, keeping everything relaxed. That time my larynx was low. The time before I pulled it up. So you can hear the difference between the two. If I would start pushing from the larynx, that's when you're not using a support as well. If you haven't got the support to support from below, then the only way you're going to want to push is from pushing from the larynx. So breath support is another major key in understanding how to eliminate vocal strain. It's one of the most important keys. I say breath support is one of the key major elements in singing correctly. This is your control box. If this is not working right, then everything else is going to be a major struggle. So the breath has to come from here, ah, and then everything starts to come easily. If you haven't got the breath, it's going to sound like this, ah, and you're going to try and push from your throat. So breath, and then open throat, and then let the note go, ah. Now, another major key element in eliminating vocal strain is the way you produce your vowels. Now, there are a couple of vowels which can be quite tricky and people often get them wrong. That is the E, and the E is its tendency when we speak, we'll say E, but when we sing, we can't do that, because if you sing like an E, you're pulling the sound right back in the throat, and that's causing then also these muscles to want to start to grip, and then they'll want to start to pull up. See, I'm pulling right up on these throat muscles. If I reposition that vowel and I put the E more into the front of the mouth, it's also allowing me to cross across between registers quite easily, because the vowel is in the front and there's no vocal strain here, and my larynx is staying nice and comfortable. So there are three key elements to eliminating your vocal strain. You need an incredibly good breath support. Without that, you're going to start to just push your notes out from the throat muscles. Combined with that, you need to open up the throat muscles. That really nice feeling of having a yawn when you're singing, and into the higher notes, it's the same idea, lifting the palate. For some people, the idea of an internal smile also works as you're reaching the top of those higher notes. Internal smile, but keeping your mouth directed into the frontal position. So you're not pulling things back, not cheesy, big, cheesy grins. And then the next thing is, forming your vowels in the correct way so that you're not pulling them right back. Not big, wide vowels, but more frontal formed vowels. And that will help you to eliminate vocal strain. If you keep practicing it, you'll feel the difference. I'm Lisa Hugo at vocalcoaching.org.